At 20,000 feet, the air is thin. The temperature is 30 degrees below zero. And inside a heavy bomber, the sound is usually a steady, vibrating roar. But then, the sound changes. The aircraft shudders, the roar disappears, and the control wheel goes slack. Wind explodes through the cockpit where metal and glass used to be, not leaking, not cracked, gone. Someone, hours earlier, made a decision based on the belief that this moment could never happen. That belief was wrong. What followed would later be described as survival. But the truth is more uncomfortable. This should not have been survivable at all. To understand how this happens, you have to understand what the crew believed they were flying. The aircraft wasn't just a bomber, it was a promise. The B-17 Flying Fortress was sold as a machine that could absorb punishment no other aircraft could survive. Holes in wings, engines on fire, tail sections shredded. Crews came back anyway. Every return reinforced the same quiet confidence. It can take anything. Commanders believed in numbers and geometry, enough guns pointing outward, enough armor around vital systems, enough aircraft flying together. They believed redundancy could outlast luck. Warnings were acknowledged but not felt, because belief is strongest when it's never truly tested. The aircraft had always given crews time, until the day it didn't. The mission began like dozens before it, but the sky that day was already writing its own warning. The flak wasn't scattered, it wasn't random, it was a wall. A dense, deliberate barrage that walked through the sky with terrifying precision. Intelligence reports mentioned heavier resistance, new interception patterns, crews returning shaken, then crews not returning at all. Each report was noted, each one explained away. Weather, luck, pilot error. The formation tightened, visibility dropped, radio chatter shortened. Someone said it didn't feel right. Someone else said it never does. Doctrine demanded discipline. You don't break formation. You don't deviate. You fly straight and level into the bomb run. Every instinct screams to turn away from a wall of fire, but instinct doesn't write doctrine. The belief held. The aircraft would endure. The moment didn't come with warning lights. There was no gradual failure, just impact. Not a thud, a disintegration. An 88mm shell didn't damage the aircraft, it erased the front of it. In less than a second, the nose section, the navigator station, the bombardier's compartment ceased to exist. Not crushed, not torn, gone. Cold air rushed in with a violence no training described. Paper vanished, loose equipment followed it. The navigator was no longer there. The bombardier was no longer there. Only open sky remained. The aircraft pitched forward. The pilot grabbed the control yoke. There was nothing to grab. The controls did nothing. No response from the elevators, no rudder authority, no feedback at all. By every law of aerodynamics, the aircraft should have already fallen apart. But it didn't. It hung there, headless, drifting on momentum. No one screamed, because nothing in their experience explained how the aircraft was still flying. Wind howled through the open front at 200 miles an hour. The intercom was useless. The instruments were gone. Then someone saw them. Exposed steel cables whipping in the wind. The last physical connection between human intent and the aircraft itself. There were no checklists for this. No procedures. No training. Only instinct. The pilot unbuckled, left his seat, crawled backward into the fuselage. The flight engineer followed. They weren't flying an aircraft anymore.
They were grabbing its nervous system with their bare hands. Grease-covered steel cables, tight as bowstrings, ran along the floor and ceiling. They wrapped their gloved fingers around them, not knowing if it would help, not knowing if it would tear the aircraft apart. They pulled. The aircraft responded, not smoothly, not predictably, but enough. To turn left, one man hauled the rudder cable with all his weight, while the other fed slack. To climb, they pulled together, fighting the air pressure pressing against the control surfaces. They weren't steering, they were wrestling. The cold burned through their gloves, muscles shook, the wire cut into their hands. They balanced 65,000 pounds of aluminum with their backs and arms. Somewhere behind them, the rest of the formation continued on. Orders still applied, plans still made sense, until they didn't. They turned back. The descent wasn't controlled, it was endured. Pull too hard, and the aircraft dove. Pull unevenly, and it rolled. When the wheels finally touched the runway, the aircraft didn't land so much as collapse. Fire crews ran toward it and stopped. They stared at the jagged metal stump where the nose should have been. The pilots climbed out not from the cockpit, but from the fuselage, hands bleeding, uniforms soaked with sweat and hydraulic fluid. Later, explanations came. Enemy fire, unforeseeable damage, exceptional crew performance. The narrative was tidy, comforting. What was never fully said was this: the disaster didn't begin when the nose was torn away. It began when confidence replaced caution, when warnings became background noise, when survival stories were mistaken for proof. The aircraft did not save them. They saved themselves, and they did it in a moment that should never have existed at all.